Yes, and good morning to you once again. Today is the fourth Sunday of the month of July, and we are once again here with the State of the Nation program. This program is sponsored by the Forbes Bonham Foundation. I'm your host once again, Clayton Hinds, and I will be addressing the question of the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. That is a hot topic today, and the Venezuelans seem not to understand that they're laying claim to an area that does not belong to them. That matter has been settled since 1899. On this program, we try to provide information and education for the nation in relation to issues that affect them, issues that are topical in the nation. I want to play for you right now an excerpt of a speech from Lyndon Forbes Sampson Bonham in relation to this Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. So stick with me, listen to it, and then I will introduce my guest in the studio with me today, and we will take it from there. So about now, sit back and listen to a statement made by Lyndon Forbes Sampson Bonham on the question of the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy.
At one point of Guyana's western border with Venezuela, the Renamo River flows into the Cuyuni River, and there is an island at this junction called Ankoko Island of about 2 to 3 square miles. According to the map in existence since 1904, the border runs roughly through the center of Ankoko Island from north to south, so that the western part of the island is Venezuelan and the eastern Guyanese. For some time, in fact during last month, a number of Venezuelans were crossing onto the Guyanese side and have since then been carrying out certain works on our territory. The report of this came to the notice of the government a few days ago only, and an inspection party consisting of senior officials and 2 senior police officers visited the island the day before yesterday, Wednesday the 12th of October. This party verified and confirmed the early report received through unofficial channels. In the opinion of the government, this intrusion by Venezuelans constitutes a breach of the Geneva Agreement entered into between the governments of the United Kingdom and Venezuela on the 17th of February 1966, to which agreement the government of Guyana is now a party. And today I have sent a cable to Dr. Iribarren Borges, the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, strongly protesting the intrusion of Venezuelan personnel onto Guyanese territory and asking that immediate steps be taken by the government of Venezuela to ensure the immediate withdrawal of all such personnel. I have this morning informed the leader of the opposition of the situation and held discussions with him. Meanwhile, I await a reply from the Venezuelan government. I consider it my duty to inform the nation of this latest development and to assure you that every step is being taken to retain our territorial sovereignty by peaceful means. Your government proposes to abide by the terms of the Geneva Agreement and is hopeful that the government of Venezuela will do likewise. You are asked to remain calm and to await further information. Long live Guyana.
Yeah, there you had it. Lyndon Forbes, Samson Burnham statement on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. With me today in the studio is a political scientist, Dr. Henry Jeffrey. Dr. Jeffrey has been writing on these issues and many other topics over the years, and more so being a kind of committed, dedicated, unswervingly Guyanese. He feels that issues of this nature need to be highlighted, be made known not just around kind of Georgetown, but throughout the length and breadth of this country. I want to introduce you to Dr. Jeffrey and want to say welcome to today's program, The State of the Nation, Dr. Jeffrey.
Thank you very much.
Today's topic, we are looking at the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. The Venezuelans have been raising this issue at critical times, and you have been studying this issue, you have written about it, and you have spoken about it on several occasions. What, in your view, what is the background of this whole issue with the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy?
Well, it depends on how far you want to go back. This go way back to the early 19th century, and when the British were attempting to demarcate I think they asked Mr. Robert Schomburg, the Royal Society, to demarcate the borders, and along that time the Venezuelans immediately objected to the border that Schomburg drew. And from then on, you've had this problem forever. So to speak.
But the 1899 arbitral award, which was settled, which in the view of Guyana, London and other countries of the world, settled this border issue. Why is it then, the days that Forbes Burnham referred to in the statement he made, and now that the Venezuelans seem to be raising this matter, when the whole world knows that this boundary has already been settled by way of surveying marks over those years? It's 100+ years now.
Well, I think this Stavic News carried a headline article today which gives one explanation of why this has been so. The issue was first raised in around 1962, I think, by the Venezuela at the United Nations, when they said that they will no longer be abiding by the 1899 award. Apparently, a junior lawyer that represented Venezuela to the tribunal had written some memos claiming that the whole thing was cooked up. It was a deal between the chairman of the tribunal and the British. It was a colonialist deal, so to speak, that led to the Venezuelan losing the lands to the Essequibo. And he left it Malay Provost. He left it this note, letter, whatsoever, to be published after he died. And the Venezuelans used that to claim that they will no longer be abiding to the agreement, the 1899 agreement. Now, the article in Starbuck today is also has bearing on this, because it's quite clear that the Venezuelan at that time was very much against the PPP government. They thought them to be communists, as you say. They wanted even to kidnap Dr. Jagan. They were suggesting that, according to American papers, that they wanted to kidnap Dr. Jagan and Mrs. Jagan, and they were wanting to get in contact with Mr. Burnham to do that. But the Americans were saying to them, no, we are not particularly interested in that. We have in place arrangements. We would like to see the back of the PPP. After all, the Americans did not want to see communism on the continent, mainland continent, and they, so far as they were concerned, the PPP weren't, and Ms. Jagan and Dr. Jagan were communists and should be removed from office. So they had their own plans to do that, but whether or not their plans included this border story, we'll never know, perhaps. But certainly we see that that's a good enough reason to raise an issue like this at the UN in 1960, around the same time when they're having discourses about kidnapping and so on, because they do not want the PPP. You know,
around that same time, independence talk were going on as well.
Yeah. And they knew that's part of the problem, that they knew that here it is, that this government that might become the government of independent Guyana, in their view, was going to be a communist government, and they didn't want anything to do with that. So, in my view, that's really where the whole problem arose. And this, in my view, this thing with Malay Provost leaving is just another one more line of attack in case the PPP did win. Because remember, the PPP was winning elections. They won in 53, but then they suspended the constitution. They come back and win in 57. And they came back and win again in 61. So nobody was certain
how the pendulum would swing in terms of politically.
Yeah, exactly. So this one might well have been in the armory of the Americans for all you know, too. That you know, in case Jagan should win again, well, we got something here, you know. So, and the American government operate at different levels, as we know, you know, CIA doing its own thing one place, this one doing, and so on. So, yes, so I think that's my opinion. That was the root of the problem, and not any legitimate problem. After all, this thing was settled over 60-something years before, and to raise that then with a letter from a dead man seemed to me was pushing it.
I just want to highlight a few aspects of the Geneva Agreement and the 1899 Arbitral Award.
Okay.
This matter was settled, and if you had your representative, in this case, as I understand it, the Venezuelans were represented by the United States.
Yeah.
They asked the United States to represent the interests. The British represented the interests, and they had this guy, Mr. Provost, who can be considered a scribe of the arbitral team. He decided, and in his view, wrote some note. Now, when an issue of this nature has been settled internationally, is it that the Venezuelans are querying the boundary of the border, or is it that they're not pleased with who have represented it? I am not too clear on that one, because they haven't been able to establish what is it they're arguing for, because this arbitral award ought to be the final settlement of the border issue.
Well, yes, they were represented by two Americans. American, I think, is Justice Brewer and Collins, or Fuller. Brewer and Fuller. And their contention is essentially a simple one. It is not they're saying that Martins was a colonialist. That is the Russian who was the chairman, that he had written works almost saying that Europe and America and so on has the white man's so-called burden to civilize these things. Indeed, he did write a book to that effect. And that the only reason that the Americans had to represent them on the tribunal because the British refused to sit down with colonial peoples and all of that confusion. Now, I don't know that those things are true, but that's what they claim. And that Martins, the colonialist theorist, he came to some sort of deal with the British, and they got that from Mr. Provost, who was given Venezuela highest award a few years before he died. So effectively, that is their case. I mean, as you said, this thing was settled by according to international law. The Americans and British nearly go to war for it. Remember, the British did not. Indeed, the British had two kinds of claims. They were claiming land straight to the Orinoco.
Yes.
And then they had a claim within from Essequibo up to Point Player. And and previously they were saying, before the tribunal came into being, they were saying, we are going to put we are not prepared to go to arbitration with the lands between the Essequibo and Barama, Point Playa, but we are prepared to go to the one outside of that boundary because we are certain of this one. But
that's going straight to the Orinoco.
Orinoco. Schomburg had two lines, and the Americans say no, and they invoke what was known then and until a few months ago as it's still called the Monroe Doctrine, but remember it's only a few months ago that President Obama said it has no more relevance on the continent and all of that. But the Americans then invoked the Monroe Doctrine, which says that no colonial power should extend their territories on the continent. Essentially, this was an American continent, it was an American backyard. And the Venezuelan then says the Monroe Doctrine is, they stand on the Monroe Doctrine and all, notwithstanding their quarrel now about the Yanks. It is on the Yanks' imperialism that they stood at that time. And indeed, there was a statement to the effect that the Monroe Doctrine would be alive so long as the state is alive,
yes.
And that kind of a thing. So that's essentially the position. They claim it was a colonialist deal. All of these things are very complex because both parties put together a large quantity of material to take to the tribunal.
Yeah, that's right.
You're right, both parties. And the tribunal came down how it came down. And I think remember the Americans also had a boundary commission because once the British were saying they're not going, President Cleveland, I think, went to Congress and says, you want to set up this commission, boundary commission, and to determine the borders between the two territories. But once that happened, of course, the British says, well, we better go to the arbitration.
I want to tell our viewers here now that I will be opening the lines for your comments, your views on this subject today. When I come back on to talk with you, I will ask Mr. Jeffrey to address the question of statements coming from the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in relation to, at the moment, we enjoy observer status on this grouping called Mercosur. Mercosur predominantly is made up of Spanish-speaking countries on the South American kind of continent. And quite recently, from reports, they have invited Guyana. Of course, you know, most of these countries are sympathetic to the cause of the Venezuelan. And they have said that we have been invited, but the issue here, they have not asked us whether we were interested to have this discussion. They have just fixed a date and said that Guyana have been invited to discuss this issue. What are your thoughts on that kind of matter? They haven't approached us, but they have identified a date coming out of the Mercosur meeting, and that date we'll be discussing this. And we are aware that a number of these countries are not sympathetic to our cause, because obviously the Venezuelans are prominent members of Mercosur, the Brazilians are prominent members, and of course the Brazilians would like to see this matter come to a settlement. But the Venezuelans keep claiming, and they're asking us to sit at this meeting. I am not sure what will be the kind of position of the government in relation to this statement coming out from the President of Venezuela. But I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
All right. Firstly, let me say that you obviously can see the problem there, that if you don't go, you don't represent an interest, and they can do what perhaps you like to do, and without your input. If you go, you might be then expanding the processes of dealing with the border issue. Because remember, this border issue is supposed to be lodged in the Geneva Agreement, which is now with the United Nations Secretary General. And to give the impression that you would now be adding another institution to help to deal with the border
that's the point.
To your disadvantage, definitely to your disadvantage. The trick might be, well, to find a way, if they have their meeting. Firstly, you asked the question about the invitation. I'm not certain how, if we were invited or not. And there is a problem on the continent, and I suppose the Mercosur can seize that as a problem and try to solve it without particularly asking even you or Venezuela. They can say this problem needs to be solved.
Well, they have actually said, the president of the Bolivarian Republic has said that he would like to have the good officer process again rejuvenated. Well, of course, we know that the good officer died. Mr. Gorvin died some time ago. But during the 25 years of the existence of the good officer process, nothing happened. But within that period of time, the Venezuelans has been doing all kinds of things and have been embarrassing and getting themselves in and causing all kinds of problems on the border area. And they have been inhibiting the economic development of the area as a result of statements they are making to international organizations and investment personalities. Now, that issue, we have said, I think I heard the Minister of Foreign Affairs statement, which is a position of the government. We are interested in having the CCJ, the World Court, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, settle this matter. And if that is our kind of position, they're saying Mercosur has identified a date to discuss this matter. When we know that Mercosur, we are not a permanent member of Mercosur, we have observer status. The issues seem to be done, and the foreign minister, which is a position the government has now, is that they're interested to have this matter settled internationally by way of the court, because we had the Geneva Agreement, we had this Port of Spain kind of protocol, which the parties had to abide by over the 12 years. And just recently, the Venezuelans have issued this decree, and then they're saying they want the good officer process to be rejuvenated. Now, I am saying, I don't understand the premise upon which you can go now to discuss when you have already stated you want the ICJ to address this issue finally. But there is an issue which I understand from what I've looked at. The Venezuelans are not signatory to the ICJ. And they are saying we want to introduce again the good officer process through the United Nations. Now, the United Nations can also rule that we will prefer this matter be having settled with the ICJ, which is our position. Now, your thoughts on these issues?
Now, first of all, I think that for a long time, even almost from the very inception of these problems, Guyana said, let's go to court with this matter. Because you are claiming that an international court, because arbitration, you're finding fault with the arbitration itself, and therefore the rightful place is a court. That, to say whether or not this thing is null and void. Of course, the Venezuela know that's not going to happen. Because if you do that for Guyana, how many people can open all sorts of things. And not only border issues, you can raise any old thing. Somebody can leave any old note saying any international issue, so some fraud took place, and then you go on umpteen years later, 100 years later, and you're opening it. So they know they're not on good grounds there. What they're trying to do is find a political solution, and they want to bully you into a political solution. And so that's the maneuvering you have to look at when you consider Mercosur and all of them. My I would continue to say that we will have to maintain the position that we have had for all of us since they started this, of going to the courts, International Court of Justice. But I would not say that because of that, the good officers process. The good officer process can be the process through which takes you to a court, in my view, because you have to get a process to talk.
Yes.
You can't just not say anything and quarrel all the thing.
Because I don't think they have ruled out the good officer process. What I understand from what the government has said from the foreign minister, Mr. Greenidge, is that we have had this good officer process for 25 plus years or 30 years, and nothing has come out of it, and the individual who was identified as good officer died. But during the period, there have been a number of incursions by the Venezuelans on Guyana territory.
Yes.
And they see that as an act of kind of provocation or trying to bully themselves upon our territory.
Well, you see, essentially that is so, and Venezuela has been doing this forever, so long. I mean, that's how indeed they forced the American hands into the tribunal. They were the ones who, in the 19th century, came into Guyana and chased away the British police and all this thing from police force and all that. And the thing was getting out of hand, and the Americans says, hey, let's have this tribunal. Now, and they have been doing that, yes, they are affecting Guyana's development. They're putting ads in papers all over the world, London, America, said warning investors and about this. Now it's gone so far that they've now demarcated an area as their security more or less.
Yes, it's a pity they don't have the map to show the area that they have recently demarcated as theirs, because they're right away, even touching across into Suriname.
Right,
because we have our 12-mile limit,
yeah,
and then out of that 12 mile you have the EEZ, which is 200 miles.
Yeah.
Now, according to them, I don't have the map right now, viewers, but I wish I had it to show you. If you use that map based on what they have drawn, you will run right across into Suriname territory and affect some islands of Trinidad and Tobago and those other islands. So you can see straight away is a deliberate attempt to attempt to take in area that does not belong to them. I'm going to be opening these lines. I'm going to be opening these lines now for our viewers. Those of you who are interested in making a contribution towards today's discussion on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. With me today in the studio is Dr. Henry Jeffrey, political scientist, and someone who is unswervingly 250% kind of Guyanese and who understands this issue, because he has been writing and talking about this for quite some time, and quite recently he has been writing, addressing this issue with a view to ensuring that the Venezuelan stop trying to bully themselves over our small territory, Guyana. The lines are going. Morning, you're on the air.
Hello?
Morning, sir.
I think that we are taking this thing too lightly with these Venezuelans, I think that we need to be more on the offense rather than the defense. Because this thing has been going on too long. Venezuela is really stymieing our development and keeping us back as Guyanese. Now they are about to say they're going to 200,000 Guyanese in Mexico to give them ID card. That is a downright pass.
Yeah, well, we have to make sure that the message is there. As far as I understand that the government will be launching a program, of information program to inform all Guyanese all over Guyana, by way of schools, organizations, everything, institutions about this issue, and so they can take a position. And even those persons who are living in Essequibo Islands and down Essequibo Coast, Maruca area and so on, you could find the Venezuelans have no respect for people. They have no regard for Guyanese. You can go from there and go to Venezuela. You think they treat you as a Venezuelan? They know you're Guyanese.
But how they go about doing this? They coming into Guyana to do these things, or they printing this thing over there and sending Guyanese?
Well, I have absolutely no idea.
Neither do I. I mean, I totally agree with you that they are stymieing our development, no doubt about that. That's why we would like to see closure to this, because it's all right to hang with the good officer process that is going on and unlikely to solve the problem. You need something to put an end to this so that we can move forward. I have no doubt about that. The question, though, is what more can you do? I think we have to do the diplomacy, the international diplomacy. I think what we in past...
I would like to blame the Americans for this,
Yeah.
Yes, but...
They want no doctrine that they inaugurated, and that time that causes whole confusion.
Well, at the time...
Apparently, they wanted to go to war with England if England didn't go to arbitration and everything with them.
Well, the Americans represented the Venezuelan interest then, and they agreed to the kind of commission which settled this matter in 1899.
Yes, I understand that.
So, I don't understand why, or of course, Dr. Jeffrey said why they have been doing this. And we feel that Dr. Jeffrey just pointed out that, again, using the good officer kind of process, even though the Guyana government position now is that they would like to see it go to the ICJ.
Okay.
But what Dr. Jeffrey is saying, which I tend to agree with, the good officer process may well lead in that direction as well. So we have to, like he said, be very diplomatic, use all our diplomatic channels and educating our people in relation to this matter on our border areas, particularly the border in Venezuela, so that this kind of matter can come to an end.
I think as I said, I think I agree with you that over the couple of years we have been really soft peddling because we were friends with Chavez. I was sitting at Pegasus when Chavez said more or less this border thing was a concoction, colonialist concoction, and that Guyana, Venezuela would not attempt to prevent Guyana from developing the Essequibo. And but well, that's why they say that countries only have permanent interests. They don't have permanent friends.
Permanent friends.
Because Chavez might be our friend, but he himself couldn't do anything to solve this.
But Moderator came here before and he spoke nice about,
Yes,
and I thought that the Venezuelans had changed their mind and things are going on.
Well, Maduro's foot is at the fire right now.
Exactly. And so
in his country. So he can't do anything.
If Chavez can do nothing, I don't see Maduro can. He's weaker. He got 26%.
All right, thank you very much for calling.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Jeffrey, the issue you raise in terms of the reintroduction of the good officer process at the United level of the United Nations is a process that we have been using for the past 20 plus years, but it yielded nothing. But within the period of time, we have had all these incursions from Venezuela. We have had all kinds of problems. And most recently, this finding of oil with ExxonMobil seemed to have resurrected in their minds this issue of this claim. Morning, you're on the air. Morning. Morning, you're on the air. Hello?
Good morning.
Morning, you're on the air.
Hi.
Yes.
I think Guyanese need to educate themselves to look at where we are with Guyana. Because why I'm saying this is that we have no education. I'm a young man, grew up in Guyana, and I really didn't know about the dispute until this recent I'll spill. This recent I'll find, and then you understand that there is a problem. And so I'm saying that education needs to be foremost in the back of the minds. And like I was telling my friends that I want to start a movement to say everyone in Guyana, bear a Guyana flag right across this country, saying that just to identify that you're a Guyanese, and so showing your support to the government regardless of...
You got to get a flag and a map.
A map and a flag.
A map and the flag. You hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
No, I said that you have to get a map and the flag.
Well, I would glad to do both.
Well, put the map on the flag.
My friends, that we should start this campaign to put up a flag on all of our houses, all of our administrative buildings throughout the entire country, that the entire world would recognize that all Guyana united in this.
Yes.
In this effort to really Claim our territory.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for calling.
All right, then.
Yeah, Dr. Jeffrey, he made a significant point in relation to him not knowing.
Yeah.
Now, years ago, the previous government, they have seemed to be a thaw in our activism internationally on this matter. Because when I was much younger, I recall this matter was very foremost among even students in schools.
Yeah.
And to hear this from a kind of young man, we had developed a very powerful kind of foreign service where international relations program where issues of this nature were very paramount at all fora in the world.
Indeed.
And now that I'm hearing that, it means that we need to intensify our efforts. Maybe the past 23 years didn't do much because we had powerful relations at the level of the non-aligned movement.
Well, I think that, when this matter came up, the PNC had, the amount of booklets, remember we were just discussing all these booklets there, most of which I may still have. And you couldn't go abroad without walking with a present with the Guyana flag. We're born and
yes, correct.
So, only the other day, well, not the other day, 4 years ago, I think I was in Uganda, and I ran into an official at one of these cocktails, and I ran into the official and his wife was a government minister and his wife, and she says, "Look at my Guyana pin. I brought the Guyana. I all the Guyanese would be here," and she got it from the PNC. Okay. So when you were going away, and
you have to have these things.
You have to have those little gold
maps. Little map of Guyana.
Everybody used to be wearing them. I used to give them out as presents and so on to, with all borders, because after all,
it's important.
Venezuela us on their map.
That's precisely why I'm saying we need to intensify our efforts like we have done in the past.
Yeah.
I know it was an issue. Everybody, and like you said, officials had to do this.
Yes, of course.
And it was all part of promoting Guyana.
Yeah.
Morning, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
What I'm saying is this, right?
Yes.
We are taking Suriname, Venezuela too lightly. What we supposed to do as Guyanese, we should not make those people come and bully us in this country. We know in Samson Bonham time, we have done know what is going on in Guyana. So I don't know if because of the president of Venezuela would like to make a problem to Guyana. So I'm asking all soldiers, all old ex-soldiers, let me be on our guard and let me defend our country. This country belongs to us. Because I read, they see the ice coming in Guyana, they want to make a problem, or they want to distract us from our territorial our territorial place and make us a fool. This Guyana belongs to us.
Thank you. All right, sir.
Well, there's not much.
Well, there's not much you say, but I agree with you that everybody need to be informed. And of course, I know that the government is taking action both locally and internationally. We have recently had the meeting where the foreign minister came out with a statement at CARICOM, and we were able to garner support from member states of CARICOM. And I think the minister of Barbados came out very strongly, Mr. Friedel Stewart, on this matter of the Venezuelan
because it's troubling
issue.
them too.
Morning, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I heard one of the contributors saying that talking about being educated with this situation here with Venezuela. But what I would like to say is this. They have parents.
Speak up a little louder.
They have parents.
Yes.
Who know about this situation. And I think that is all right that when we come into education, we cannot wait and sit on the government alone to do this.
I agree with you.
They have because I learned that situation from my parents. And therefore, I think that, the parents these days, they're not enlightening the children to such things of importance.
As a matter of fact, it's sometimes.
All right, thank you.
I agree with you that parents can do this, but also children can educate parents too if they're given essays in school and to speak to
Yes.
parents about this, and by school teachers, and say, speak, let your parents help you write this essay and all of that. You bring the parents into the whole process of understanding and activation. So it can go both ways. But this is one issue, I believe. I am always saying, the people must drive this. But this is one issue I believe that the government got to drive. They got to put some money into this and really put some money into the public relations
program.
And yes, parents can help and all. But this is an issue that, the old PNC regime, the government itself used to drive.
Morning, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I listened to the program, and I feel that Guyana is taking this topic with bordering issues too lightly. The statesman who's representing the Guyanese in Parliament is supposed to fix this arbitration properly before they go into investment, because, people, when they know that you have something valuable in your hands, they try to grab. Look at the issue with Suriname, now the issue with Venezuela. Why, from the instant that our country, the people who is in charge of the people of fear, which is the government, attack?
Well,
all right, thank you.
Well, first of all, I do agree, but I mean, it's not, I don't think it's simple as that, because they would love to solve it if they can. All the governments would have. And I think that, I think that the PPPC's government may have placed too much faith in, their friendship with the government in Venezuela. But we see how quickly this can thing. And that's why I made the statement previously that countries have no permanent friends, only permanent interest. And this is one of our abiding interests at this stage. And we have, to some extent, watered down our approach because of this friendship business with Mr. Chavez and so on, and Mr. Maduro, and try to explain their behavior in terms of there being pressure in their own country. And by the way, it is not... if you're trying to find reasons, it might not only be oil, it might well be the political position Mr. Maduro finds himself in. He's trying to find a nationalistic issue around which he can bring back his support. And the recent poll, like a week ago, said only 26%, that's his support base.
Yeah, he's not very popular.
Right, and therefore, the one issue that brings people together, like it's bringing people together here in Venezuela, because since 1962, they've been putting on their map that this, showing Guyana to the Essequibo as being there. So the Venezuelan people believe these stories. They saw it in school, they taught it. And the result is he can use this to mobilize himself and win some more popular support. So that's also another issue.
Morning, you're on the air.
Good morning,
Morning.
Dr. Jeffrey. What you need to get back into the schools is, remember that book when you used to go to school, what's his name again?
West Indian Reader?
No, the Guyana one, the history of Guyana.
History of Guyana.
Oh, daily.
Back in the school, they're trying to know about the coastline and what's happening in the Essequibo and what Venezuela. Remember the days of the Hearts and the Melvilles when they invaded the in the Rupununi there?
Yes.
These things the children need to know. We have to go on. Remember Bonnie used to telling us about these things.
Yeah, well, like I said, Dr. Jeffrey, there has been a thaw of activism locally, and the nationalistic fervor didn't exist in relation. This particular issue, while I agree all governments would like to see this go away and settle, the past government and this one, but the Venezuelans keep bringing this up in spite of the fact that there is this 1899 arbitral award, which is regarded internationally as a final settlement to the country's border.
Yeah, that's right.
And in spite of the fact,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And in spite of the fact that the Geneva 1966 agreement says that they must make any new claims or any such thing. So, but as I don't know that this it's not going to go away unless you get a court, and the Venezuelans not going to accept the court.
Morning, you're on the air.
Good morning to your panel.
Morning, sir.
I think that the government should get up and move some of the soldiers from Evelary and line them to the Barama Road. Because, I mean, you might sit down there, but you don't know. SQ can be taken over in the state of 24 hours from the Barama Road. The amount of troops can come through there in 24 hours, and it cause a big hair on SQ. Because it's going to cause a war, and we're going to punish. We're going to punish tremendously in this country. You understand? So you got to prepare and got your people, because in 24 hours they could take over SQ. Simple as that.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, as Dr. Henry Jeffrey said, we have to use all our diplomatic channels. We have to do this programs like this, informing and educating people in relation to this matter. And according to him, the government need to intensify its efforts on what you call a rigorous public relations campaign with a view to ensuring that every Guyanese, young and old, is fully au fait, looking at the map, what is it that constitutes kind of Guyana and what is it the Venezuelans are claiming. We need to make sure that make it very clear, locally, internationally, that the claim made by Venezuela is spurious, because this matter has already been settled internationally. Dr. Jeffrey, I want to ask you once again, this issue in terms of the statement by Mr. Maduro, where he was saying that over the years, the Spanish from Spain, they have lost a lot of territory. As I recall, none of the countries, when the 1899 award, 1895, 1897, while they were doing this work, none of the countries, Guyana, Brazil, or Venezuela, based on what they settled with, none of those countries got what they wanted.
Yes. Well, that's also part of the Venezuelan story, you see. When you're doing arbitration like this, people just won't only think about law. You have to, about what the law is, so to speak. You have to, you think about the different things, national interest. And Venezuelans' contention, indeed, is that they didn't get what they should have gotten, was the lands to the Essequibo, because the arbitrator didn't consider the matter as legal only. They make a deal that had all kinds of other
variables.
Indeed, what they come to was a compromise that gave British some of what they, most of what they had in their limited claim. Remember I told you that?
Yes.
And give the Venezuelans all the British wanted in the more extensive claim. So they're claiming, that is the deal they're claiming that exists. They're saying if it was done according to law and right and long settlement and so on, they would have gotten to the Essequibo. But it's because of this deal they're talking about, is that essentially something like that. They're saying the British and the Russians got together with the colonialist British and they make some kind of deal to take away some of that. But these things are always, you got to look at national interests. You have to look at how a country would progress if you do this and that. But more than that, when the arbitration award was given in 1899, Justice Brewer and Mali Parvos was on the radio saying this was a win for Venezuela.
Well, look at that.
They were saying it's a win for Venezuela.
Good morning, you're on the air.
So,
yes, a pleasant good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
As an ordinary Guyanese,
yes,
it bothers me where this issue is concerned. And before I get into the nitty-gritty of the present topic that is being discussed, this is a time when I wish all Guyanese can start seeing themselves as Guyanese and act in all respect for the interests of Guyana.
I wish so too.
One of the foundation problems with this issue is because Guyanese have been so divided for so long. The previous administration has made a mess of our foreign service. Hadn't it been for that, I doubt if we would have found ourselves in this present situation. Having said
that's debatable.
Having said that, I only hope that our present foreign service body will be able to take care of this nonsense in a very speedy manner, because it is totally irresponsible of Venezuela making such an ugly claim. The last program I listened to from you, that would have been about 3 weeks ago, Abdullah made a very interesting point, if you could remember, when he said that the previous aggression came about because of a political scenario, which was against Burnham and his regime. And here it is. I would like to ask, or I would like to know, if this spiteful previous administration we had, if they are not involved in instigating this nonsense. Anyhow, you gentlemen, I wish you the best. And think about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I did make the point, Henry, that the previous administration, and not only all Guyana, we have been very tardy. This matter some years ago was very much on the front burner. All Guyanese knew, and more so that Dave Martin came out with this popular song, Not a Blade of Grass. That used to be sung by every Guyanese, young and old. And today I'm hearing it right now being played pretty regularly. But I'm saying, like, I agree with the point you're making. There need to be what can be described as an aggressive public relations campaign to lift this issue once again from where it is and put it back, not just on the front burner, put it in front of everybody.
But diplomacy is our first line of defense in real terms, Yes, you have to have army, you have to have the people, but we have to have an aggressive diplomatic
core.
Not core, but a policy towards this issue, so to speak. We have to do that. We have to bring people on board. You just don't walk up to people one morning when something happened and say, hey, look what's happened, support me. You have to nurture them over long periods of time that you are worth supporting, and they know your interests.
That's what the foreign minister was saying.
Right.
Mr. Greenidge was making that point.
So you need to have a diplomatic policy, particularly around this issue, that seeks to do that and to maintain that sort of alliance. I mean, the previous regime indeed did do some strange things when you come to think about their position with Argentina, the Malvinas, the British. After all, the British were staunchest supporters of this issue. Indeed, they were the colonialists, so to speak, who under who regime this happened. You really don't want to weaken your support in that area. You certainly. The Americans, well, they indeed, some would say they had their hands in what has occurred under the Jagan regime. It was the Jagans they want to get rid of and not Burnham. But the point is that they also, once that matter was closed, are more or less friendly and would like to see the maintenance of international law and to not see borders moving about. And the Brazilians certainly don't like no change in borders on the continent. The Brazilians would like, but you gotta have aggressive things with these people, and it's not just going to them when you think you have an issue. It has to be sustained and nurtured, not only in terms of border, but in terms of other levels of cooperation, because that's how you build cooperation. That's how you build.
Morning, you're on the air. Morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir. You need to speak a little louder.
Yeah. So, how is the gentleman next to you, Mr. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Morning, sir.
Hi.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I pondered on something, the guy said he's proud to be something about Guyanese, right? Were we Guyanese 5 years back?
If we were Guyanese, of course we were.
Okay. That's all. Thanks a lot.
That's all you want to ask?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Topic though.
All right, yeah. Well, I don't know where you were coming from, but of course, I consider myself Guyanese not only just 5 years ago, all my life. Morning, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning to you and the panel.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make 2 contributions to this program.
Go right ahead.
First of all, I would like to say Guyanese for the past 23 years have not have had any interest in Guyana more than they had interest in their own personal self. Because the previous government weren't teaching and enlightening people about the country and about the nature of the country and the use of the country. They had things so, I can't find a word to explain this part, but they had things so different. Life was so corrupt and complicated. People didn't remember that they're living in Guyana and the value of Guyana. All people used to think about is how they're going to survive when the day come day to day. Secondly, I would like to say, in relationship to the children and education, charity begins at home. I'm 52, and I know since I was a small boy growing up, man has been always taught at home first before you came outside. And the way you conduct yourself at home is the way you will conduct yourself in the streets. Okay? Children, nowadays, making children, and they ain't got time to stop and think about what they should teach the children or anything. All they have to think about how life been for the past 23 years is how to feed the children, how to feed themselves. So I think we're behind time far back, and we need to, the government, this present government, needs to do something about enlightening the people of Guyana that we all is Guyanese, and we need to stand up and live as one and unite and move ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Your point is well taken in relation to, I do agree that there was some misstep in relation to the past administration in dealing with not just our border issue, but several other issues in terms of some of the policy position they took on other issues. But this one, having raised its head once again, behoves all Guyanese that they should come out and make sure, let their voices be heard, let it be understood. While the government will be maneuvering and making moves at the international level and on the diplomatic front, we all as Guyanese need to play our part as well. And whether in terms of what happens at school, whether in our cultural expose, whether it's in terms of the way we relate among friends at bars and other places to discuss, raise these issues so that they can be discussed at a level and made known to all Guyanese what the position is, what we need to do to make sure that this is addressed. Morning, you're on the air.
Hi, morning, Clayton.
Yes, morning, sir.
Well, I am one to go, mate. I won't call with him, but you are right, but I like the guest you got this morning. You got the wrong forum. Thank you. I want some work, some more later.
Who's this?
Eh?
Who is that?
I said I won't say more now. I will say more later.
Okay. Thank you for calling. Yes, I feel that it's the responsibility of all Guyanese now in relation to this matter that I see the lights have already come on, but I have maybe another minute. Morning, you're on the air. Let me just take another call or two. Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, just one contribution, I believe. The map of Guyana was shaped differently. I believe is this Anukoko area that no longer belongs to us. I don't know if you can shed some light on it.
If it's shaped differently?
No, but I think
the shape of the map that is being used now as Guyana map. There was wasn't there an extension on that map? I believe around the Anukoko area.
I will ask Dr. Jeffrey to respond.
Anukoko, I think, is an island.
It's an island.
Just one of the border areas.
One of the border areas.
Half of it belongs to us.
Guyana, and the other half
belongs to
Venezuela.
But Venezuela took it all.
Yeah, I think the eastern half is ours, and the western part of Anukoko belongs to Venezuela.
Venezuela took it all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to remind our viewers that the fourth Sunday of each month, I bring to you this program called The State of the Nation. It is a program under the umbrella of the Bonham Foundation. Part of our responsibility is to make sure that we keep the dream of Forbes Bonham alive. We highlight his contribution towards development of this nation. And on today's program, we were looking at the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy With me in the studio was Dr. Henry Jeffrey. We have been examining it, allowing people to call, express their views. I'm going to take one more call before I ask Dr. Jeffrey to give me his final thoughts before we close. Morning, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning to you, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
What a lovely program you would have had. Saying to people that after 22 years of not knowing what Guyana really is to us, it has now raised its head. And I hope that all, I'm saying all, the members of the previous government can decide to join with this new government now and make known to the Guyanese people, apologize to the Guyanese people by saying we did not speak to you about patriotism. We talk about any other thing else about patriotism, other than patriotism. And patriotism is needed to build the Guyana confidence in with this thing with Venezuela right now.
Okay.
So patriotism shall raise its head as in the days of the National Service and so forth, and brings back the Guyana land, the land of our Guyana, where we feed, house, and clothe ourselves, and was able to fight off that threat from Venezuela. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I want to ask you, Dr. Jeffrey, your final thoughts before we close.
Yes, well, I think the most I want to look at a way forward.
Correct.
I think we've touched on the issues. Effectively, what we need to do here is to carry out, first, formulate and implement policies at the public relations and diplomatic level, the aggressive policies that will win our friends, win back some of our friends, so essentially that we can put a stop to this aggression by Venezuela. It is at those levels that we have to move forward. Of course, there's always the military factor. One contributor made a point but I suppose the people in the military are already thinking about the strategic places to do that. And that is under our control, in a given way, that trying to win diplomatic friends back and trying to hold them back, it would be a difficult thing, but it is a task that the present regime will have to move forward.
All right, thank you very much. I want to say now before I go that during the course of the rest of this month, we will be observing 1 month of activities. The People's National Congress Reform, in collaboration with the Bonham Foundation, will be having a number of activities during this month to memorialize the life and work of Forbes Bonham. We will be having a symposium on soon, plus we'll be having a number of other activities to commemorate his life. Coming on the 6th, there will be a wreath-laying ceremony at the NCW in Kitty, plus also wreath-laying at the mausoleum in the gardens. That's the date of his death. And there will also be a number of activities in all the regions in memory of this great man, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Bonham, the Caribbean man of the 20th century. My name is Clayton Hinds. I want to thank you for inviting me in your homes, your bedroom, your kitchen, and for allowing me to at least give you some information in relation to Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. Until we meet again the 4th Sunday of August, we bring to you another program, The State of the Nation.